I'm Leigh Brown. This is Crazy Shit in Real Estate. And today is a super special because this is going to be a part one of a two-parter because the story is so compelling. You're going to want to be completely dialed in. So put the AirPods in, get ready for the conversation with Rashmi Airan. She's amazing. And just buckle in, friends. I'll see you on the other side of part two.
How are you?
And no Carolina Blue today. I've only seen you in Carolina Blue.
I know. Well, orange is my other brand color, and I think it looks good like for podcasts and stuff. So, but I have Carolina behind me. So
wait, your shirt matches your flowers, and that's very well played.
Yes. Well, they're there intentionally because orange is. So, I started out with orange only being the one brand color I had. And last year when I was rebranding, I was like, one, I need another color. I knew I needed another color because I can't only wear orange on stage. I was like, if you walk into my closet, it's like orange. But I also had all this Carolina blue because obviously I have a lot of Carolina blue. So it's like, okay, that's perfect. I'll just add Carolina blue. They actually look good together. So it works.
It does. And I'm feeling this in my soul because fuchsia was my main color for so many years. My closet had turned fuchsia, and then I got burned out on it. And I was like, I need to change colors. And so I decided to change to green. And green and fuchsia kind of go together if you stretch it, but not really for a boring person like me. So now I'm just flipping my closet around.
Well, I think what's cool about having two brand colors is there's not like, at least I don't feel the pressure to wear both when I'm on stage. Like I can if I want to, or I can wear just orange, or I can wear just blue with white or black or whatever. So like, I just gave a keynote at UNC 2 weeks ago, and obviously I was going to wear Carolina blue. So did you see my post? Well, I have to show you. I had the best. This is my new favorite outfit, by the way, because I was wearing this. Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can show you. I'll enlarge it so you can see. They're like Spanx patent leather.
Oh, that's the pants? I've heard they're comfortable.
They are. And then with Carolina blue heels, with the Carolina blue jacket. It was awesome. And like I matched the background. It was like Bubba, who's the athletic director, was like, did you plan that?
World.
Sorry?
Right outfit makes you feel like the queen of the world.
Oh, it really does. I mean, those pants, I was a little concerned. I was like, is it too much? Like, I feel like those are pants that there's certain audiences I wouldn't wear them for. Like, I don't think I would wear them for like a stuffy lawyer audience, which, I'm in front of a lot of lawyers often. Real estate, maybe. I don't know. I think I have to sort of.
Yes. Human resources, no.
Yeah. So like, I think it's a fun outfit to wear. I'm starting to push out. I just had a call yesterday with a bureau agent who does a lot of colleges, and I would love to do more college work. Like, I feel like it's a great audience for me for like, if I just can angle my talk to students and so for that, totally, they'd be all over the Spanx, right? So.
And especially when they're not the slutty kind of leather pants. Those look like they just fit appropriately, not pole dancing type. So, I mean, you got to walk that line on leather pants.
Well, I bought them big. I bought a medium instead of a small so that they're not
slutty
hugging me. Yeah. So they're like, yeah, I guess they're appropriate. Bubba loved it. So.
Hey, so did you wear them? Did you buy them at the airport Spanx? Because Spanx always says that the airport store is the same price as online or in the regular stores. But I've never met anybody
I didn't. I bought them online. I bought them. Actually, they were a Christmas gift because I had them on my wish list. But I will tell you something funny. So I think I got them like December 20th, like they arrived, right? And they got put under the tree. But I want to say like right before the end of the year, of course, because now Spanx is like, spamming me on my Instagram. So I got an Instagram ad that said, end of the year, final blowout sale for specific items. And the same pants that were $110 were now 40 something dollars. So you better believe I bought another pair. Like, because, you can't ever have enough black patent leather leggings. So I bought another pair. So they're sitting in a bag. Like I'm like, if something ever happens, I've got two pairs. One's dirty.
Shopping, like if your shoes are amazing, you buy all the colors.
100%. Those shoes that I was wearing that day.
Another pair.
Yeah. My favorite heel to wear on stage is the Calvin Klein Gale Pump. Like I know what I like. I know the heel, like I know it. And those are suede blue that I was wearing on stage. Because Carolina blue is like hard to match, right? So you just do baby blue. But I had them in this color But the ones that I have in this color, I've worn them so much, they're literally falling apart and I can't find them now in that color. So I'm like, shit, I'm gonna have to go to the cobbler and see if he can fix them. So
And
anyway,
for people that don't understand Carolina, they also don't know that there are different Carolina blues, and it depends on
yeah,
which era you're matching and which one is the true Pantone Carolina blue is different than what the color of the sky is, but the sky blue
yes.
is used as Carolina blue. It's so complicated.
Yes, I have the hex number for actual Carolina blue. So, like when I use it, like
Okay,
let's
that's the next level.
yeah. So I have it for all of my branding stuff, like, for official things, I have it. And I'm using it like now when I'm doing subtitles on my videos. I don't know if you saw, I just launched a whole new series this week on all the socials called A Lawyer's Insights from Federal Prison. And I'm answering all the questions that people
Uh,
always ask me about my prison experience because I never have time from stage to do that. Anyway, but the subtitles are white with the actual Carolina blue hex number.
So Hubert was really sad the other day when they lost their second game in a row, and I'm wondering if you're going to be invited into the basketball coaching team to elevate them because I think Hubert was ready to cry. And I don't know if it's because Belichick's in town with his new energy or if it's because they really did lose 2 in a row. Did you watch the post game? Hubert was like,
I didn't watch the post game. I'm thinking of going for the Duke Carolina game, which is March 9th.
"Well, we
Um,
can always win that even if we're a bad team because we hate
yeah,
Duke so much."
yeah. I haven't, funny, Hubert wasn't there the day I came and he was supposed to be, I think something, I don't know, it was like an ice cold rain day. It was a terrible day. Um, but I had a funny story in my talk about Hubert from when we were in college, and then he wasn't even there. I was like, well, somebody's gonna have to show him the video because it was a very funny talk.
I think
Uh,
he needed you because I worry about him because he doesn't have his same energy right now because he doesn't like to lose. But isn't that all of us at
it's
Carolina?
just, yeah, well, who likes to lose? I mean, I don't think Dookies like to lose either. We don't like to lose for sure.
Losers, so they probably
That's
do in
true.
depth of their being because they know that they're the University of Jersey and North Carolina, and they are not us.
That's true. Wait, what year were you there?
I graduated in '96.
Undergrad or business school?
Grad. I was in King
Undergrad.
undergrad.
Yeah, so I'm a lot older than you.
And
I
then
was
Carroll Hall, that's before they built the beautiful
a
business
beau
school.
yeah, I'm on the alumni council right now for Keenan Flagler. So, yeah, we had our meeting in February, and I'm on the campus engagement committee. I mean, between you and I'm not sure I'm going to stay on this council because the College of Arts and Sciences dean also asked me to be on his leadership council. So I've been also involved with that. And that's taking up more time, but it also feels a lot more rewarding for me. I kind of feel like the alumni council is like we sit in the meetings and they talk to us, and there's not much that we're asked to do. There's not much that we're doing except I know they want us to give money, but I don't know, it didn't feel as like satisfying to me versus the college. And the college is obviously because I was a speech communication major, but I was a business minor. So, and obviously like my whole life has been in the business sector and I work with corps, but I don't know, I haven't decided yet. I have to June will be 1 year for me, so I have to decide.
I'll
Or
just remind you of a phrase we use in real estate, which is that you should focus on highest and best use.
yeah.
And when you're evaluating volunteer
Yeah.
opportunities, it's always highest and best use of your skills and talents and your passions, not necessarily where you are, but where you wanna be. So that's
Yeah.
my
I think that that's good advice, yeah. Yeah, that's like the college is talking to me about bringing me in to do a International Women's Day event for them, and, so, like, so I was class of '93, so when I was a senior, you were a freshman.
okay. Well, actually, I graduated high school in '93. I finished college a year early because
Oh,
I was the
okay,
person
right.
rammed through, and looking back in time, I should have slowed my roll and enjoyed it more, but
100%.
I was
You
paying
only get to go to college once. Like, those non like, nobody depends on us. You don't have any obligations really except
no
to do well.
mortgage, no spouses, no kids,
Oh,
but
well, hindsight's 2020. If I could go back, the one thing I would change is I would do study abroad. I didn't do study abroad.
I tell every kid that, I'm like, "Go, go, 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 go."
I tell both of my kids, "You both are doing study abroad. I don't care. you're going to do it because I don't want you to feel like I did 30 years from now and regret not having that experience, right? Because and I didn't do it because I was so involved on campus. In 92, before you got there, I ran for student body president. And so I think I told you this, right? I was the second female to run. And anyway, I lost by 7 votes, which was part of the story. Hubert Davis is part of the story of that story. Yeah. And so actually, the story is the morning of so I in the primary, I got the most votes, but then we went to a runoff because you have to win by 51%. We go to the runoff, and this was the year of Ross Perot. Do you remember when Ross Perot ran as the anti-candidate? And his daughter she was a tried-out. She was at Carolina at the time. So her, somebody that she knew really well was this guy, John Moody, who I was running against. And John was the white frat boy, Sigma Nu, had never done anything in student government. He was the Ross Perot candidate. Meanwhile, I had spent 3 years giving my life to student government. And anyway, so he runs the morning of the runoff. In the DTH, Hubert Davis, there's a letter to the editor from Hubert Davis endorsing John Moody. And whether or not they were friends, I doubt. I'm sure he either got some dollars or got a dinner. I mean, Hubert Davis was probably whatever. Meanwhile, I was dating George Lynch at the time, who was on the
nicest guy.
George is amazing, but I never thought of using him for marketing. Meanwhile, I'm sure Hubert Davis convinced more than 7 people to vote for John Moody. So I always I'm in my talk, I was I'm not blaming Hubert for my loss, but
But also, what were you studying in the business school that you didn't pay attention to your marketing classes? I mean,
clearly I was not taking marketing.
So, come on, girl.
I know.
Told you.
I know. Didn't, whatever. Anyway, whatever.
So, what did you want to talk about related to real estate? Because your background is
my case is a real estate case.
You what?
My case for which I went to prison is a real estate case. I was a real estate attorney with my own little title company in Miami in the heyday of real estate in 05, 06, 07. 07, I meet a real estate developer, and it's an entirely real estate case, which is why oftentimes state associations call me to do their annual conferences, because it's the cautionary tale that everybody needs to hear. Because in real estate, people make bad decisions all the time and take shortcuts all the time.
Then I have to ask, do you know who Victoria Sprouse is?
No.
Do you remember the wax ring case? It was one of the biggest FBI breaks of the mortgage fraud era, straw buyers, the whole bit. She was
Victoria, what was her last name?
Sprouse. She might still be in jail. She was the attorney, and this happened right here in North Carolina in Waxhaw, which is how it came to be known as the wax ring. And Victoria went down. We had 4 full-time FBI agents working that ring. And then the real estate agent was Holly Pasut, and Holly went to jail.
Oh, I know Holly. Oh, I've heard Holly's name.
Holly she makes an amazing presentation about what she learned in that process. And her sister is a dear friend of mine, Heidi Hines, who's one of the best agents in the market. And so we in the Charlotte area watched all of the fraud, and then we watched it get busted up in real time in the news media. So it's interesting. I had to know if you knew who Victoria was.
No, but funny, I do know Holly, because I think Holly and I might have even been on a panel together a while.
Make sense, she was so vulnerable and transparent about everything that happened with her. And I think that's what attracted her to the agent audiences, was she was not trying to make it into anything it wasn't. And that's
what I do. Exactly.
Very compelling. So before you tell about your pieces of that case to our audience, tell them who you are and where you're located. Now they all know you're a Carolina person. And
are we recording this whole time? Okay, cool. I didn't even
the whole time, because
perfect. I love it.
And wipe out the beginning part that's not fun.
Perfect.
We have an organic.
Yeah. So let's see. I was raised in Miami, Florida. Actually, funny enough, I was born in Raleigh, North Carolina, when my parents I was born a wolf pack, weird enough, because my dad was getting his PhD, and my mom was getting her master's at State. So I ended up in Miami when I was 2. Both of my parents immigrated from India. They came with nothing, basically, and came to achieve the American dream. And I think what came along with that is that pressure, cultural, family, self-imposed, and then I'm just a type A person. So for me, success meant achievement, love, and why people my self-worth and self-love and self-esteem was all rooted in being the perfect good girl. and achieving the things, which to me looked like getting the best grades, going to the best schools, winning all the awards, which by all accounts I was doing. So I graduated from high school, top of my class. And I'm going to say all these things not to brag, but just to kind of set the stage for what happened. I went to Carolina, and at Carolina, I was inducted into all of the honorary societies. So I was in Golden Fleece and Grill of Valkyries, and all graduated with highest honors. I went on to Wall Street and I worked as an investment banker for 2 years, and then from there I went to Columbia Law School. Also did very well there. And by way of San Francisco for a year, I ended up back in Miami, started to practice. And a few years in, I started my own real estate title practice. And at the time, my kids were 2 and 3, and I was literally pounding the pavement, right? Like I was hustling. I was trying to get any possible person to give me title business. So that meant like networking at every possible event, going to all the meetings and galas, and trying to volunteer as much as I could, selling my services at the gym. And I was so overwhelmed all the time. I was missing meals. I was rarely at home. My marriage started to suffer. It was basically like I had created this self-imposed prison for myself, right? Because usually we create walls around us that we don't even realize out of stress and anxiety and like the need to get to where we think we need to get to. And there was so much going on at the time that I didn't even realize I was stressed. Like I was just sort of operating in this like fast-paced world that we oftentimes find ourselves in. And what happens is we set these goals for ourselves, and then we think we have to go around the race course faster and faster and faster to achieve our goal because we think somebody else is otherwise going to get there before us, which, by the way, spiritually, I believe nobody can take what's meant for me. Now I've come to that understanding, but then I didn't have that understanding. And so, in this context, in 2007, I'm introduced to a real estate developer. And so it's like, do you want me to go into it now?
Go for it.
Okay. So it's late 2007. And your audience obviously knows what was happening in real estate, across our country, but South Florida was sort of like ground zero for what was happening. So 2005 and 6, right? The market was insane. I, as a title agent, was closing tons of transactions representing buyers who were buying from developers. Usually they were buying investment, spec. And so they would buy these homes, and there was always some sort of buyer incentive on the settlement statement. It could have been a marketing fee, a design credit fee, So with all of this background, I then get an opportunity to meet a real estate developer. It's October 2007. And I think to myself, wow, if I can get one big client, that means volume business, which means financial stability, which means more time with my kids. And then maybe I don't have to hustle so much. Like I can actually be at home for dinner because I'll have closings coming in. And so like in my mind, what ended up happening was I am going to get this client. I have to get this client. And I was so focused on that goal, right? Achieving the goal, that when I went to go meet him, and actually he never came into the meeting. He was like in a side office. His 2 operations guys came in to meet me, and they basically began to describe buyer incentive transactions that were being disclosed on the settlement statement as a rental guarantee. I had a rental guarantee document, like it was very creative and outside of the box. I went to a side room and called my underwriting counsel at the title company and asked like, hey, I'm with the developer. He wants to, give these third-party disbursements on the settlement statement. This is how they're going to do it. And I kind of said, as much as I thought they needed to know, right, that what was going to flow in and out of my escrow. And the the underwriting attorney said, okay, as long as you do A, B, C, D, E, your file should be audit proof. They'll be fine.
There's something we all know in real estate, and that is the fact that buyers are interested in 2 rooms in the house primarily, one being the kitchen and the other one being that master bedroom, because we all know that those who pay the mortgage are really looking for somewhere they can relax. And in fact, Cozy Earth products are designed to transform the 5 to 9, as in the end of the day and bedtime for you lucky people, the time that matters most, into the coziest sanctuary. Cozy Earth products have a special coupon for you. If you go to real estate in the little code block, you are going to save 40% off their sheets and also their super swanky towel. I hear the pajamas are great too. And so just remember this. If you're looking to make that bedroom an even softer, gentler place to end your day, Sanctuary awaits you at Cozy Earth. So mention my name when you go to the website, put in real estate to save 40%, and let me know what you think.
Now, if I look back on that, I realized in that conversation, I left out some very important information, which is that the buyer was getting a financial benefit.
Right.
That the buyer was getting an incentive. At the time, what went through my mind was, well, all that matters is what's showing on my settlement statement in and out. That's my responsibility. Of course, now I realize that was not my responsibility. I have a fiduciary duty to do more. What ended up happening is within 2 weeks, I had my first closing request, and it was like a steamroll came in, and I never took the time, nor did I make the time to do any due diligence on basically this developer who I'm now laying in bed with. I didn't ask people for help. And to give, just so you know, like I am surrounded by attorneys, right? My parents are both attorneys. All my friends are attorneys. I could have gone to any number of people and asked for a second opinion, asked for help. And I didn't ask because I didn't want to know, right? Like I was so excited that I had this client and I could see that like I was getting closings coming in and that felt good, right? And so along the way, my gut started screaming. Like my inner voice was like, this doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. There's a lot of details here that I'll skip over, but after about 15 months, I had done about 200 closings for him, and all the units had sold. And right around this point in my life, I merged my practice with my father's, who's a real estate litigator, and I stopped doing transactional work. And so then we grew our litigation practice, and we were doing basically foreclosure and default work. And so then I was representing NationStar and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And like I'm basically I grew our practice by 1,200%. We had attorneys and paralegals, and, I was going to mortgage servicing conferences and mortgage bankers conferences. And 2 years later, so 4 years after I met the developer, 2 FBI agents showed up in my office. And all I can say is it was scary. And the thing is, like, so nobody tells you, unless maybe you've now heard my story, but nobody tells you that if the FBI knocks on your door, you don't have to talk to them. Like you can actually say, "Can I take your card?" And I'll call you and I'll come in with an attorney. And I'm an attorney. I should know this, but I did not know this. And so what was going on in my head was, well, I haven't done anything wrong. My files have already passed audit. All my ins and outs on my escrow were perfect. Every file was approved. So why shouldn't I talk to the FBI? Because if I don't talk to them, then they'll think I did something wrong. So, and the FBI operates off fear, right? They get this. They know that they intimidate people. So I let 2 agents into my office, and I used to have this like circular table next to my desk. So they sat at the circular table for 4 hours and grilled me. Remember, I don't have an attorney with me. So at some point, my dad has come back from lunch. He walks in and somebody must have told him on the outside, the FBI's with her. So he came in and he just sat in, but like as my dad, not as my attorney, because we're real estate lawyers. We don't know anything about criminal law. So after about 4 hours, they left. And, during these 4 hours, they were like grilling me, showing me pictures and emails and documents and asking me, have you ever seen this person? Did you ever send this email? And I was like, yes, no. I mean, I didn't even remember. I did not understand the reach of the federal government for sure. Just so much naive. I was so naive and trusting, I think. And so I kept answering their questions. They left and then nothing happened. So I was like, okay, they just wanted information from me. I'm the records custodian. So 2 more years go by. Now it's 2013, 6 years after I met the developer, and I got a grand jury subpoena for documents. So now
Years later?
Yeah. So I'm still thinking, well, I'm the attorney, so I'm the records custodian because the subpoena was for all of the files with this developer. So I was like, oh, okay. Something must have happened with the buyers or the mortgage brokers or the developer, and they want all the files because I have all the files. So I submit all the files, right? Within 3 months, my attorney called me into his office and he said, Rashmi, you're a target. And do you know what that means?
It sounds to me like it means your name is on all the documents in-house and your permanent file, and that sounds very like much like you're going to jail.
Right. So at the time, I was like, what does being a target mean? And when my attorney explained it to me, I there's no other way to describe it except that I collapsed on his sofa and was hysterical crying because this was my whole life. Like this was everything I had worked so hard for. And it felt like I was in a twilight zone. Like, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. I honestly, for like, I want to say 6 months, I tried to avoid indictment. So I was very arrogant. You know, I can be really honest about the fact that like I thought to myself, well, I know all the right people. Like I know, my attorney was a former US attorney. Um, I knew all the politicians. I was like, no one's going to indict me. Like I'm a good person. How could they indict me? And I kept trying to convince the prosecutor not to indict me. And the prosecutor, to his credit, his name's Joe. Joe kept saying, you know, Rashmi, we just want to come and talk. Like he would tell my attorney, we just want to talk to her. We just want to know what she knows. And I kept saying, I don't know anything. What am I going to say? Like on principle, what am I going to say? So in April, I got indicted, April 2014, I got indicted for one count of conspiracy to commit bank fraud and 24 counts of bank fraud. They took 24 transactions and they attached it to the complaint out of the 200. So imagine this is 7 years after I meet the developer, I get indicted. And I went through all the discovery. So, usually a defendant does not actually go through their own discovery, right? But I'm a lawyer and I think to myself, I'm going to prove I'm innocent. Like I'm going to find that like one smoking piece of evidence that's going to prove my innocence. So every day, my kids were 7 and 8 at the time. I would take them to school, and then summer came, so then I would take them to camp. And every day, all I did, all day long, was I would go through the discovery. It was 200,000 pages of documents and 15,000 emails, and periodically I'd meet with my attorney. And we would take out, like, we would say, okay, like, here's the good pieces of evidence. Here's the not so good pieces of evidence. And then a couple months later, he asked my parents and I to come in. So at this point, my attorney was a guy named David, who is like a friend. He lives down the street. His wife also went to Carolina a year behind me. And he, like, our kids have been in plays together. I taught legal research and writing at University of Miami Law School with him. Like, I've known him for 20 plus years. And he calls me into his office with my parents, and he basically gave us a whole presentation, which was essentially, Rashmi, if you want to go to trial, we'll take you to trial. But here's all the reasons why, if you go to trial, you're going to lose. And, you're my client. If you want to go to trial, we'll do our best. But you're going to lose. And you're looking at 20 years. And here's the thing, like, I get that you didn't walk into this planning a crime. But as an attorney, you had a fiduciary duty to ask the questions you didn't ask. And not doing something is still doing something wrong. Right. And like this, obviously it's not just for attorneys, right? Real estate brokers, real estate agents have the same exact responsibility. If they know there's a straw buyer, there's a responsibility to say something. So I ended up deciding to plead guilty. Actually, what he said was, Rashmi, you're going to have a come into Jesus moment, which is a little funny because he's Jewish and I'm Hindu. But so it was like the hardest decision I've ever had to make, like just recognizing that I'm now going to be a felon for the rest of my life. And I did not know what that meant. At the time, I still didn't know if that meant I was going to go to prison. I was hoping for house arrest. To make a very long story short, I've already been talking a long time, but I ended up calling about 200 people in my life and telling them after I pled, because I'm very involved in my community. I sit on a lot of boards, and community service is a really important part of my life. And I did not want anybody to gossip about it, read about it. It just was really important to me. And to be honest, like I was so sure that every single person would hang up on me. Like they would disgrace me. Like I had disgraced myself. They would shun me. And I called Carolina friends that I hadn't talked to in decades. I called high school friends. Then I called, lawyers and partners and politicians in our community. And I like literally the gamut of people that I thought knew me as a human, like knew my character. And one by one, I would do like 4 calls a day because I would cry hysterically on every call. One by one, I called every person and told them. And the beauty of this process for me was I walked in thinking I will lose 200 friends. And what ended up happening was I learned that people are very forgiving of our humanity if we give them the chance to listen and know what we've done. So one of my friends describes it as you stood naked and exposed for all of us to judge you, and we did. And you taught us something about ourselves because of what you did. And so I'm going to show you actually. Let me see if I can find it here. I have the judge gave me, the judge got 200 letters of support.
Oh.
Well, it's 182. 18 didn't get it in time. But anyway, so talk about being eulogized before you die, right? So the gift of that was recognizing like people love me unconditionally and my self-worth is not in my achievements, but actually in how I have impacted people. And I think oftentimes we lose sight of our purpose in life or a purpose in our day to day. And it's, yes, of course, we all have goals and ambitions and we need to make money to provide for our families and all of that. But it's how we touch people's lives that actually matters. And literally, my entire definition of success has shifted to exactly this. Every day, can I touch somebody's life? At my sentencing hearing, all of those people showed up, like friends from Carolina, flew in from New York, drove from Charlotte and surprised me just to be there, just to love on me and show the judge they supported me. There's no greater feeling of love and success than that to me. And then on that day, the judge sentenced me, and so he sentenced me to a year and a day. I had 60 days to surrender, which meant that, and obviously when he sentenced me, I was again on the ground, hysterical. And it wasn't that I was scared for me, right? Like I was just scared what's going to happen to my kids. And at the time I was already separated. So, there's so much anxiety about how will they respond to this? How will they grow from this? So one of the things that their dad and I did very intentionally was we're going to honor our children with the truth. Whatever they're going to learn in this lifetime, they're going to learn through. They have to learn. Like, I don't want to lie to them. Earlier in my life, my parents also went through some really hard times financially, also because of real estate. And they were developers and they had lost everything in the 80s crisis. And they always told us the truth, no matter how hard it was. And so I knew that that was how I was going to approach this. And so the kids, actually, you'll love this, Leigh. They were 9 and 10 by now. And I got sentenced June 16th, 2015. And the judge had given me 60 days to surrender, and I was allowed to travel still. Like I didn't have money, but I was allowed to use miles or drive. And so I brought the kids to Chapel Hill. They had never been to Chapel Hill. So I brought them to Chapel Hill. It was July 4th. And I remember walking all over campus, taking all these pictures. We went to Kenan Stadium to watch the fireworks, painted our faces, did the whole thing. And what was so incredible about giving my kids, I had already told them before the trip. So they had time to like process. And then every now and then they would ask me questions like, Mommy, what will you wear? Mommy, what will you eat? Most of the time I really didn't know the answer, but I would say, like, I don't know, honey, but I'm sure I'll find something. The most important question to them was, Mommy, will you be safe? Right? They want to know that their mom is going to come home at some point safe. So I surrendered in August. I ultimately served about 6 months. I spent 10 days in downtown Miami. I spent most of my time at a minimum security camp near Orlando. I spent 23 days in a county jail in Pasco County, which is St. Petersburg, because there was another case and they asked me to testify in another case where I had knowledge because it was the same developer. And because I testified in that case, I was allowed to come home early. My prosecutor filed a motion and the judge allowed me to come home. So I never had to do house arrest. I never had to do halfway house, which was incredible. And I came straight home to probation. And that was in 2016. So actually in a month will be, 9 years that I've been home. And, since then I really have deconstructed. I've done a ton of research, like behavioral ethics research to understand what went wrong. How did I go from like the perfect girl or the girl trying to be the perfect girl to a girl in prison? And so to me to understand how did I go so off path, I needed to sort of deconstruct my decisions and recognize what I did. So I like use that research plus just a decision-making process that I guess I've created a mental process for decision-making that I think helps. And really people want to know, like, how do you live every day, not beating yourself up? And I think the universal truth is we all will struggle in some way. I had spent my whole life as a kid thinking I could avoid the struggle if I just got the grades and went to the best schools and made money. I can avoid the struggle. And it's something that as naive teenagers, we convince ourselves that there's a way we won't ever have to go through that life struggle. But as we all know, whether it's medical, financial, legal, in my case, financial and legal, marital, like we all go through something. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so when we do go through struggle, how do we rise up off our knees, right? How do we, and I don't think you just, rise above and just move on. I don't think that true growth is not from just escaping the pain and moving forward. I think true growth comes from really embracing whatever it is we're going through, no matter how hard, and feeling the pain in our bones and then letting it go and then daring to keep going. That's where true growth comes. And I like part of so much of my work now is like recognizing that when we grow our people, we grow our companies. And so to me, like I love now what I get to do and I feel really honored. Okay, now that I've just talked for a long time.
Well, and here's what I hate to do is I hate to cut this conversation off, but
Mhm.
we're gonna have to because we're out of time. But
Oh, okay.
you promised me to come back for a part 2
Sure.
so we finish the unpacking because I know my
Yeah.
audience sitting here going, "Lee Brown, don't cut us off," but I have to cut y'all off because this is gonna there's way more to this, and I would love to.
Yeah, I'd love to share what I've unpacked and figured out.
Okay, so in the meantime, friends, all of Rashmi's contact information, social handles are in the show notes for this episode. I want you to comment and like below, subscribe so you don't miss part 2. We are going to cut part 2 and we're going to bring it to you really quickly because on Crazy Shit in Real Estate, it's my show. And so this we're going to take this one long because this is worth it. Thank you for bringing your show, your story to my show. Your show is your story, and your story has come to my show, so it's all shows and stories.
Yep.
Oh, this is such a life story. All right, friends, make sure you hit the bell to subscribe and come back for part 2. By the way, friends, don't miss my brand new coaching program at answers.realestate, where you can have access to Leigh Brown, submit your questions, have them answered, meet like-minded professionals, have an entire library to help you build your business no matter what happens in the market. Get signed up today. I promise you'll be glad you did. So if you found value in this episode, please like and subscribe to this channel, turn on the bell, and catch another amazing episode by clicking above. Crazy Shit in Real Estate is also available in all of your normal podcast apps. So if that's where you like to hang out, go find me, click subscribe, and most importantly, leave me a review that says you think I'm awesome, my guests are awesome, or this content is just exactly what you were looking for. And then, by the way, if there's something you need, you want to learn about something, you can comment below anytime. You can also send me a direct message if you need to remain anonymous. No judgment. But anyway, I'll only judge if you forget to subscribe and click. I'll see you next time.